Evening, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Nutlin, would you lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine Law Statement. All requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met for this meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Oradell. Notice of this meeting was filed with the Record and Town News and all persons requesting such notice. Mr. Darien, would you read the mission statement?
The Oradell Public School District is dedicated to the ongoing pursuit of educational excellence through comprehensive, innovative curriculum and instruction. The district is committed to providing opportunities for social, emotional, and academic discovery to foster curiosity, courage, and character. Our goal is to prepare our students to become lifelong learners who are self-directed, resilient, productive, responsible citizens.
Thank you. Roll call.
On the roll, Mrs. Acosta.
Here.
Mr. Del Greco.
Here.
Mrs. Downey.
Here.
Mrs. Norian.
Here.
Mr. Nutlin.
Here.
Mrs. Walker.
Here.
Mr. Walsh will not be here. Mr. Darien.
Here.
Mrs. Nichols.
Here, at this time, we will open to the public for agenda items only. Not seeing any, we'll move forward. This is one of our favorite nights of the year. As a board, we do staff recognition. I'm going to switch the order up a little bit. We're going to do years of service first, so I guess when we call your name, come on up, shake our hand, go over there, because we love to take pictures. And this board will put you in the newsletter and on Instagram, I guess. So we're going to start with our 5-year people. We're going to start with Lena Alaj. I don't think she's here tonight, but I'm going to read everyone also. Amy Brancato. Check your superintendent's hand and then goes there. Ayelsa Cara Thomas.
Thank you.
Sean Kelly. I don't believe he's here tonight. Eileen Miller. Thank you so much. Rebecca Rosen. Thank you, Rebecca. Deborah Tashjian. Okay, we're moving to our 10-year people. Jennifer Hook. Okay, it's your night. Take as long as you want.
Thank you. This is my first hire. Thank you.
Oh, your first time. 15 years, Magda Garcia. Thank you so much. Christine Wood. "20 years, Jeannie Black. How are you, Mrs. Black? I haven't seen you in so long. Thank you. Judith McGavin. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Julie. Thank you so much.
And 2 people at 25 years, Derek Gordon. Is he here? Oh. And Amy Pena. so much.
Oh, my God, a pleasure.
So we'll take a picture with the superintendent. You want to go in there too? Miss Hawley, why don't you get in there? Well, you guys want to? Yeah, Megan, why don't you get in too? So any of the staff that was just honored, would any of you like to say anything? You're more than welcome to come to the mic and say something if you'd like. Okay. So now we move to Educator of the Year for the school year 24 and 25. Is there a resolution or anything? Hold on one second. '23, '24, I'm ahead of myself. We just got done with the budget, I'm in '25.
We only do it for retirees, but you usually read this.
Yes. Okay, so Educator of the Year. You're gonna have to come up behind us when we're done, but I always like to read the other years first. So, 2018, Tracy Schaum. 2019, Rosemary Cataldo. 2020, Melissa Pisa. 2021, Jeannie Black. 21-22, Helene Albrecht. 22-23, Leslie Macklin. And 23-24, Jamie Caruana. And this is from the state of New Jersey, Department of Education, 23-24 Governor's Educator of the Year program awarded this certificate of recognition to Jamie Caruana in honor of the contributions of being an outstanding educator in a New Jersey public school.
I can.
Yeah, that's probably easier.
Here, go, Jane. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you that came out tonight. Sorry. It means a lot to me, especially to have some of my most favorite coworkers here, because I couldn't be the teacher that I am without you supporting me all the time, personally and professionally, as well as you. The community is something that I treasure. I have been here, this is my 21st year, and I have no intention of ever leaving. I truly love my job in Oradell, and I love the children. I want to give a little special shout out to Brody, who came tonight. He is one of my students that I hold near and dear to my heart and truly feel like he's one of my own kids. Being a mom now has definitely changed the way that I approach teaching, and all of the children that enter my classroom, my goal is to truly make them feel like they're one of mine, and I really hope that they feel that love, because I truly love them just as much as I love my children. Well, I love my own children a little bit more, but, but I really do love them. So thank you for coming out tonight, and I appreciate it.
Ms. Hawley, do you want to say anything before we put, and then if anyone else wants to say anything to Ms. Caruana, she can come on up. But
Oh my God, Brody's coming up. I'm gonna cry.
So we have to be official. So I have to say my name and what my job is, and then you say your name and what your job is, okay? I'm Michelle Hawley, principal of Oradell Public School. Come speak in the mic.
Hi, Mrs. Caruana.
Say say who you are.
I'm Brody,
And you're in 3rd grade.
and I'm in 3rd grade.
Excellent. All right. So Brody and I have a couple of things to say, but first I have to give a shout out because we honored 170 years of experience tonight. Thank you. So Mr. Hagopian couldn't be here this evening, so I asked him if he could give me a little bit, because my story will come second. So I said, give me something to say about Jamie tonight that captures her. And he said that it's your heart, because you're excellent at building relationships with your students and their families, that you're always available. You work collaboratively with your grade level team members and all staff members that come in and out of your classroom. You have a can-do attitude, except for end of the school year professional development. I am sure he didn't think I was going to say that. And that is said with love. Brody, if you could think of one word to describe Mrs. Caruana, and don't say nice, because your teachers want you to use really good adjectives, right? What would the word be?
The best teacher ever.
So you are very often my sounding board. You are very often the one that I go to when I need someone to say, yes, that's the right way to go, or, I think we need to maybe try it this way. And I so appreciate you. But my very favorite memory of you is on a day where I had a very strong need. It was my first day of school as principal, and if you'll remember, there was a bad storm the night before, and I lost my car, and in my car was my makeup bag. And I called you and said, hey, I only got 2 hours of sleep last night, and I did shower, but my makeup's in my car. I can't start my first day of principal and not have eyeliner on. And you were like, don't even worry about it. And you brought me eyeliner, and I think that just shares how much you are collaborative and how much of a partner, because there's not a lot of principals in the world who can say they called a teacher and asked them to share their eye makeup with them. And I'm so proud to be your principal. I am so proud to be walking side by side with you as we create the best school in Bergen County. Thank you. Do you want to say anything else?
Thank you, Mrs. Caruana, Mrs. Pillai, and Mrs. Jess from helping me growing up and be better.
Mr. Nutland's wife yesterday said to me how excited that his daughter was to see me. And I said to her, I said, well, I actually know her pretty well because she happens to be in Mrs. Caruana's class. And I'm in a transition period. There are teachers here that only know me as superintendent, not as principal. And when you as the superintendent walk into the classroom, it's a little different than when you walked in as principal. Mrs. Caruana's classroom continues to be a place where I am just embraced as Megan Bozius, the educator, and not Ms. Bozius, the superintendent, and I am incredibly grateful for that personally. But my job as superintendent is to continually make this district grow. And Mrs. Caruana does that by teaching 20-something students every year. But I am going to ask a few staff members to help me. Ms. Delolio, can you stand up? Mrs. Sinclair, Mrs. Hook, Mrs. Westdyke, Mrs. Scanlon, Miss Pilata, and who's next to you, Miss Pilata? Miss Menhenick. This is the lunchroom. And every one of them is the educator they are, now not just in Oradell, but elsewhere, because of you. Because your impact has not just been on the 20 students each year. We make the greatest impact when we impact and we help our colleagues grow. So as the superintendent, thank you. Because we can't achieve what we want to achieve unless all of us grow.
Would anyone else like to say anything?
Can I?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Just if you could state your name for the...
I'm Katie Sinclair. I worked with Jamie the last 9 years of my career. I don't really have anything prepared, but I couldn't not take the opportunity. Jamie was one of the first people that I met when I was interviewed here in Oradell, and she was the very first person to call me over the summer to see what I was thinking, how I was going to adjust to teaching first grade, get any like background info about what I knew about teaching, which was a whole lot of nothing, until I met Jamie. And the best part about Jamie, Mrs. Caruana, as a person, as a professional, is that you are authentic. You are yourself as a teacher, as a friend, as a mother. You are just an all-around authentic person without any judgment of anything I ever came to you with professionally, personally. Everything I know, you have taught me, whether it was reading, writing, any behaviors that arose in the classroom. Jamie is my go-to number one. There was not a problem that we could not solve together. And another great thing about Jamie that is a little bit of an underrated quality is what makes Jamie an incredible teacher is she's also a learner. Like Jamie, if there's something new that gets thrown at us, everybody's kind of like, oh, there's something new. Jamie dives in head first. She's the first one on the computer. She's the first one to figure it out. She's the first one that asks questions. It makes her such an incredible educator because she truly is a lifelong learner. And I am privileged to work with you, have been privileged to work with you. You're amazing. I wish I had better words, but this is all I got. But you're the best.
Anyone else? Do you have family here with you? I do. So we could take you want to take a picture over here? Bring them up? Yeah, bring them up. You want to say anything else?
You want to say something? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You're going to say your name, okay? Okay. Okay. I'm Kim Citrillo, Jamie's sister, and this is
Addie Citrullo, and I'm Aunt Jamie's niece.
Okay. So Jamie is my older sister, and we have had a relationship our whole life, back and forth all the time. But Jamie not only teaches all of your wonderful students, but she also jumps in for these kids. And this one last year had a really hard time failing 4th grade. Jamie jumped in with me to help get her IEP and her 504, and she's a straight A student this year because of her. And this one is aspiring to be just like her Aunt Jamie, and that makes me so proud. And we are so proud of you and everything you've accomplished. What do you say?
I want to say that I want to be a teacher when I grow up because of Aunt Jamie, and that she inspired me to be a teacher when I grow up.
Yep. And you're proud of her?
And I'm very proud of her.
And we all love you very much, all of us. We're here tonight for you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
I don't know if I can. That all means so much to me. And it's nice to feel valued and appreciated. And it makes me sad that a lot of you aren't here anymore to continue on that voyage with. But I can't express how grateful I am to have met you and have you in my life. And now Ms. Bozius knows why every bring your kid to work day, I beg to also bring my niece, even though she's not my kid, because she truly just wants to be here. So we always tag her along with my sons, Dylan and Luciano. So thank you for always allowing us to do that, and thank you to all of you for coming.
So we're going to take another picture if the family wants to come up over here, and also Miss Hawley and Miss Bozius. Yeah, take it. I'll look for you. With who? She can. Okay, lunchroom teachers, as Miss Bozios calls you. Miss Caruana would like a picture with all of you. Come on. The lunch bunch.
Breakfast Club.
It's okay. I spy that little bump over the like, so sad. Oh, that's me. I didn't like that. That's me.
kicked ass.
Okay, we're going to resume our meeting. Is that the lunch bunch? That's okay. No. Yeah, opened. It just opened. Yeah, did you go?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to subject myself. I've been to restaurants when they're new. You know, 6 months. Well, at least a couple of weeks.
All right, so moving on with our meeting. The only other item I have is that Ms. Bozios and I attended the last Bergen County School Board's meeting and dinner. And at that meeting, one of our members was given an award, and that would be Mrs. Catherine Norian. And could you just quickly explain to us the award you received? A lot of people were being recognized for their years on the board and whatnot, but Mrs. Norian got a special award.
Thank you. I also almost didn't make it there, but it's called the Janet Lobson's Award. Janet was, when I first came on the board, she was our NJSBA representative that kind of did what Matt Lee does. And she worked with us a lot through some difficult times with some different people on the board. But I worked with her here. I worked with her on doing superintendent evaluations, superintendent searches. She was an amazing, she cut through everything. She was just an amazing woman. I admired her tremendously. And to me, it was a real honor to be given the award in her name. She was committed to children and education, and also education as board members throughout her career. And when she retired, NJSBA developed this award in her name. So I feel very honored to have gotten it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So moving to superintendent's report.
Good evening. If you drove past Oradell Public today, you would have seen one of our annual traditions happening across the street. Our sixth graders had a wonderful day for sixth grade field day, complete with their hot dog lunch, which it's funny. It doesn't matter how long it goes on, kids still get excited for a hot dog, and I think it's something about grilling it outside. We were a little short-staffed today. We had an administrator who had to take off today. He normally does the hot dog grilling, so a special thank you to Mrs. Fournette and her husband who came and said, we will pinch hit, we will grill those hot dogs. He may now want to do it every year. Also, yesterday was our art show, and I hope that you were able to see it because I'm a horrible artist, but I love art. And what I love about our art program right now is it doesn't just teach line and form, it teaches art history. So if you walked around that room, you didn't just see Matisse, you didn't just see Picasso, you saw Keith Haring, who's one of my favorite. You saw modern day street artists and our students creating. I personally may be taking sixth grade art next year because some of the sixth grade art projects are absolutely amazing. Yesterday night, though, our Odyssey of the Mind team is in Iowa, and they actually had to shelter in place because of all of the tornadoes. They luckily did get to leave shelter in place and participated in the opening night ceremonies last night. They will compete, they did spontaneous today, they will compete long-term tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, and we'll hear their results on Saturday, which I, of course, will share with you. Explorations in terms of our planning, explorations is well underway, and we are finalizing our staffing for next year. We have a few open postings that we are working on, and we are in the process of interviewing staff for those positions. And finally, when I was appointed superintendent, I spoke to you about, I believe that the superintendent's role is also to be a representative of the district in the community. And this weekend, I got to attend and speak at the Eagle Scout ceremony. And it was an incredibly exciting event because all 5 students were graduates of Oradell Public School. So when you walk through the hallway, those 5 students did a plethora of projects throughout town, Lotus Woods, for example. But if you walk down our main hallway, you will see artwork up on the hallway. That was George Levine's Eagle Scout project. And he did that in coordination with Mrs. Hawley based on our grit theme for this year and also based on last year's and COVID and kind of coming out of COVID and what that was like for us as a community. It's a visual representation of that. What I love about that project in particular is it's a project that took a child's strengths in art. He happens to be a graphic design enthusiast and allowed it to be something that made Oradell Public School a better place. So I hope that our community looks at it and enjoys it. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Iapelli?
Yes, I have no amusing anecdotes to tell, and I'm going to self-recognize my 11th month at the Oradell Public School.
We haven't scared you out yet.
So we have our final leg of the CUSAC review next Friday, the 31st. It's the fiscal review, and they'll be coming in, well, actually just the business administrator for the county will be coming in at 9:30 on Friday to just review our fiscal procedures. That's my report.
Thank you. Moving on to minutes. We have the review of May 1st. Any comments or questions, please email Mr. Iapelli. We have approval for April 17th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second by Mrs. Walker. Any questions? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Acosta? Mr. Del Greco?
Yes.
Mrs. Downey?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Committee reports, administrative items. Mr. Darian, would you take?
Yes, tonight we have one item, A1. It's a HIB report that we're going to accept. So I'd like to introduce A1.
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Norian. Any questions? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Acosta? Mr. Del Greco?
Yes.
Mrs. Downey?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Buildings and grounds. Mr. Darian?
Yes, we did not have a B&G meeting for a while, so I have nothing to report from there. I do have some comments about the basketball court has been repaved, so that was great. They came on a Saturday, it wasn't last Saturday, it was a week Saturday before. And, you know, the parent volunteer, you know, his crew came in and did an outstanding job. So apparently, we're ready now for the next phase of the sixth grade give back, where they're going to be resurfacing with artwork. So it should be very, very interesting. With that, let me introduce items B1 for facility use.
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Norian. Any questions? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Acosta? Mr. Del Greco?
Yes.
Mrs. Downey?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Curriculum. Mrs. Norian?
Yes, we have also not had a meeting, but hopefully we'll have one in the future, closely. But I would like to present, I guess I'd like to present, even though there's not a line, a C1, approval of field trips.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Del Greco. Any questions? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Acosta? Mr. Del Greco?
Yes.
Mrs. Downey? Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Finance. Mrs. Acosta?
Hi, we haven't had a meeting, but I'd like to present D1 through D9.
How about D10?
D10.
Next page.
Okay, D1 through D10.
I'll second
I
it.
have the old one.
Second by Mrs. Norian. Any questions on finance? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Del Greco?
Yes.
Mrs. Downey?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes. Delegate report. Mr. Walsh isn't here. Mrs. Norian, did you go to a meeting?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because they actually had 15 resolutions that were originally presented to them. One was not included because it didn't follow the protocol, didn't follow procedure. So there were 14 resolutions that were voted on. Of those, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 items that were passed, and there were 2, 3 items that were defeated, and in addition to that, there was 1 item that was sent back to be referred to the committee with an amendment. So it was a very long and a lot of discussion on the resolutions that included things like a revision of bylaws, which actually, the one about the bylaws did not pass because they already had enough information in the information that is with New Jersey school boards. A lot of these were changes that they wanted to make to the manual of positions and policies on education. So we will be seeing the result of these votes in policy. They'll come through in policy that we'll look at in the future that'll affect things here. I would say that most of the information dealt with making sure that decisions were made on a local rule. There were districts that were promoting the idea of having a one-size-fits-all, which of course they're not in agreement with. They want to make sure that local rule decides what's best for their school. So there was a lot of that. There was information. One of the resolutions dealt with AI. One of the resolutions dealt with purchasing electric vehicles. All of those things, I mean, I can share the individual minutia, but if you'd like to know all about it, I've got it. And I brought back a book so John could keep track and keep it in his library, I'm sure that he has, of his delegate assembly handbooks, so.
Mr. Iapelli, I'm sure school boards has a minutes of this meeting that would show what was passed or not?
Yeah.
You think you can get a hold of that and email it to the board so we can see the resolutions?
The minutes actually don't get approved until the following meeting. Like, we approved the minutes of the last meeting at this meeting.
There must be something at school boards though, right? That would show us?
Yeah, I'm sure that they'll
Yeah,
have
so
something.
maybe you could look into that
I will
for
look
us and
into
email
it.
us?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I could write this up.
The minutes are
and
right
give it-
here. You have to
Yeah.
see the
No,
notes here.
we don't need hurt
I mean,
you to do any work on it. I
unbelievable.
mean, there must be a summary at school boards, right?
There will be a summary,
Yeah.
yes. In addition, they also had reports from the Finance Committee and also from the Resolutions Committee. So,
Thank you.
long
Personnel, Mrs. Walker.
Thank you. I'd like to present F1, but before I did, I just wanted to again say how proud I am of all of those teachers that were honored tonight with their times of service from 5 years to 25 years. And it really makes me proud when I look at them and see all the successes they've done and the response of the audience to them, too.
Also our one custodian, 25 years.
Yes, that's right, to
Absolutely.
Derek. So,
I like that it was 170 years total of
Really?
experience, so that was pretty amazing.
it is. With that, I'd like to present F1.
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Norian. Any questions? Call the question.
On the roll, Mrs. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Del Greco?
Yes.
Mrs. Downey?
Yes.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mr. Nutlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Yes, policy, Mr. Del Greco.
Nothing to report. We are due to schedule a meeting.
Public relations, Mrs. Downey.
The survey went out.
So,
It's closed, right?
yeah, so I was talking to Ms. Bozios. We got 326 responses. We're going to be meeting in PR first to go over it, and then I think we're going to also take it to committees, but first PR to go over it. So we're going to definitely do that. But 326, thought that was great. Even if some people did multiples, it's still a good showing for our district. Pretty good. At this time, open to the public. Since we're recognizing people, we should recognize Miss Allen for how many meetings she's come to. Tonight, we'd like to recognize Miss Allen for her 109th meeting in a row.
And she coached softball today, too. She took over the team today and ran it, so.
Okay, not seeing any old or new business?
I'd like to acknowledge Memorial Day weekend. I'd like to acknowledge the soldiers who have died for our lives and for our freedom, and that I hope that this weekend doesn't get away from us without acknowledging the sacrifices that they have made for all of us.
And just to add on to that, the Special Events Committee of Oradell has created a video of all the spots in town that are connected to Memorial Day weekend. We will be sending that to our families. We told them we would help that get out, and it will be linked on our social media sites as well.
Any other old or new business? Mrs. Walker?
And also with Memorial Day, there'll be a ceremony at 9 a.m., I believe it is, up at the corner of Prospect and Park Avenue, and to honor all of our veterans, both alive and deceased. And Rotary will be serving coffee and donuts.
Yes.
So
Reason to
please
go.
come. But thank you, Chris, for that recognition.
I forgot this. I received a thank you note. Dear OPS Board of Education, thank you for celebrating us during Teacher Appreciation Week. Breakfast was delicious and a nice way to start the morning in the middle of the week. Thanks for being so good to us, the OEA. So thank you to Mrs. Walker.
And we owe Miss Dorothy the $20.
Oh, it's a lot more than that. But we need to thank Mrs. Walker, because Mrs. Walker goes to the grocery store, she picks everything up, she comes the day before, she sets it up, she goes, gets the bagels in the morning, so thank you, Mrs. Walker.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I
Did a
still
lot.
have to pick up my baskets, right, Ms. Bowles?
Yeah, and then I think Mrs. Norian came too, right? Came in the
Yes.
morning? Yeah.
I would also like to say that this is the first time in a long time that I've been here for the teacher appreciation breakfast that we provide. I did years ago, but it was really heartening for me to come in and see some of the same teachers that I knew still here and recognizing me, and everybody just coming in a happy day. It was a rainy day. It started raining just as all of the teachers were coming into the school, and they were happy to be there. They were so happy to be there and just bubbling over. It was just a great experience. And it wasn't just the bagels and coffee.
It was us.
It was us, yeah.
Any other old or new business? We do need to go into a closed session, so Mr. Darian, would you make the motion to go into closed session for student issues, legal, and special ed?
I make a motion, we go into a closed session for,
Wait, also personnel.
okay.
Hold on.
I make a motion, we go into closed session for personnel, legal, student, and what else?
Special ed.
Special ed.
And I'll second that.
Roll call?
On the roll, Mrs. Acosta, Mr. Del Greco,
Yes.
Mrs. Downey, Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mr. Nutland,
Yes.
Mrs. Walker, Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes, we will not be taking action after, so we will not be coming back here. But thank you very much for coming to the meeting. We do appreciate it.